this is Wayne Brown, your life architect, here to talk about the 5 steps to finding your soulmate. Originally I had planned this as a series of videos that will follow this one, and then I decided to put this one in at the start. I felt that I needed to give you better information, and that is what my intention is with all of this, is to give you good information so you understand everything that's involved. So this one, I want to talk about basically where I used to be, where I was struggling in my marriages and that sort of thing, and where I see a lot of people struggle in their relationships. So I wanted to go through the steps that we normally follow when we get to a relationship, just so you have an understanding of how my journey led me from that position that I used to be in to this system that I've created, which you will see in the following videos. Most people, when they form a relationship, and this was true of myself until I worked out my system, is the first thing we do is we meet someone and we have what they call the honeymoon period. Now the honeymoon period is basically, it's engineered within our unconscious. How to do this is the first 6 to 24 months that we're with someone, we have rose-coloured glasses on, which means that we don't see their faults. We don't see the things that annoy us. The reason for this is, if we saw everyone as we really saw, as they really were when we first met them, we wouldn't procreate. So therefore we need to be able to put these blinkers on to their faults so that we can create children and keep the human race going. So, like I said, this period here is usually between 6 and 24 months. Good handwriting there. Now, what normally happens with people is once they get past this honeymoon period, they move into something called the power struggle. Now, the power struggle is where you start to work out who's wearing the pants, who's in charge, who makes the decisions in regards to this portion of your life or that portion of your life. It's where you start testing your boundaries of the relationship and seeing how committed they are to you. It's the going out and saying you'll be home at 10 o'clock and then you get home at 11 and your partner starts saying you obviously don't love me or respect me. So all of this sort of thing happens. Now that power struggle can go on indefinitely, right? So it goes on in infinity. As a friend of mine whose parents have been married for quite some time, he says that they've had 50 years of wedded misery, which I think is a bit of a sad way to live your life, but they're obviously keeping the power struggle going. Now the next stage, if you get past the power struggle, you get to a level of stability, which means you're not fighting about certain things. So you realise that they're not working, or the argument's not worth it, or you just agree to let that person deal with it rather than having the power struggle. And you get this sort of, you get rid of the big highs and the big lows, and you sort of get this mid-range. Now once you've got to that and you have that for a certain period of time, a lot of people then go to the commitment stage. So you say, well, this seems to be a person that I can spend the rest of my life with. So you decide to make it official and you get married. The problem with getting married is you generally go back to the power struggle, because now you'll have kids involved, you'll be living on one wage, you'll have to plan things long term, like where you're going to live, careers, that sort of thing. You're moving out of the fun part, I suppose you could call it, and moving into the serious portion of the relationship. Now obviously the commitment side of it, being married, can go again indefinitely. It depends how many kids you have, what sort of lifestyle you want to lead. So eventually, with the commitment, you get to a stage where you get co-creation, so you're creating things together, and you get a level of bliss. Now for some people, this is when the kids grow up, they move out of home, the responsibilities have dropped away, and then you can focus on yourself as a couple. Now they're the 5 steps that most people go through. The problem is there's a number of crossroads within these steps that a lot of us fall into, make decisions at, collide with, because sometimes these crossroads are a big moment. Now, where these normally happen is when you have the power struggle, you can decide this is too much. This person's a nutcase, they're not loving me, whatever. It just gets too much. So you decide to end it and you go back to looking for another partner and then you start again from the beginning. Or you get to a level of stability and you start to realise maybe you're not really suited. Maybe that little thing that used to make you laugh at the start's actually going to be something that's going to really annoy you at the end. So you call it quits and you go back to the start. Or you get through the commitment stage. Now this is the one where it's really devastating for people. They're married for 10, 15, 20, 25 years and then one day one of the partners within the relationship decides they're not in love with that person anymore. So they call it quits, and then you've got two people back there with very similar situations, and it's devastating. And occasionally, not very often, but occasionally you'll get someone in this level. Now the reason why I want to point this out is because the steps that I've created to find your soulmate help you avoid the power struggle. Now the reason this happens, and I'll explain this more in the other videos when you get them, is because you basically plan the relationship before you meet the person. You've removed a lot of the power struggle because you work out where you're strong, what you bring to a relationship, and therefore what you need someone to match or complement so that you can have a good relationship without the power struggle. So basically you've pre-planned it, you just need someone who fits that criteria. So you can move straight into the stability without having gone through all this pain. And because you set it up from the start, you also avoid these risks here. Because you've set it up right, even if it ends, it's not going to be devastating. I mean, it shouldn't end because we've set it up right at the beginning. So anyway, this is just a quick video I wanted to put in, because you'll notice in the others I'm wearing a different shirt to what I'm wearing now. That's why, because I've chucked this one in at the last moment. But I just wanted to explain why my system works, why it's worked for me and why it works for my clients. Is because that's what we're removing. That's where a lot of people's struggle is. And also before then too, where people have trouble dating. They're scared to approach people. They don't want to risk that rejection. They don't know who they should talk to. They don't know what they should talk about. So there's a lot of anxiety, and a lot of people don't even get to this honeymoon period. I've met people in their 30s that have never had a proper boyfriend or girlfriend. You know, a proper deep connecting one. So for them, it's a really alien world. So moving into that stage alone is terrifying. So that's what I wanted to explain before I sent you the next series of videos, which then explain my 5 steps. Okay, so I hope this has helped point out a few things for yourself and given you some clarity, and is able to enable you to move into your future relationship with a lot more clarity about what you can do to minimise the pain. Because all of this is about minimising the pain and maximising the love, the connection, the communication, all of these things that make a quality relationship that we all crave. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this. Feel free to email me, admin@waynebrown.com.au. Check out my website as well, waynebrown.com.au, and feel free to send me questions, ideas, whatever. I'm always up for it. Thank you very much, and I hope you have a fantastic day.